Hello. I recently spent a few days in Edinburgh. It was my first visit for a long time, but as a student, I enjoyed 3 years there. And it was as a student at Morningside Baptist Church that I first heard Jesus saying, "Come, follow me." Wandering familiar streets, I realised that 50 years had passed since then, and how grateful I am that at the age of 17, I heard the gospel clearly explained and took a leap of faith. I'd like to share 3 reasons why I'm grateful. And firstly, because Jesus is my good shepherd. Without a shepherd, it's easy to wander and get lost, especially in your teens and your early 20s. Secondly, because ever since I got baptised, I've been part of a church. We all need to belong somewhere. I'm glad that my husband Rick and I are part of this church. Sandy married us, Raymond baptised Rick, and we've benefited from the teaching, the prayers, the friendships, and especially being part of a small group. And working for an international Christian charity, I've been very aware that I'm part of a global church. At times, I've had little tastes of heaven, worshipping with colleagues from 20 countries. It's glorious to experience the depth of fellowship which is possible, even with language limitations, when the Holy Spirit is present. And thirdly, as Christians, we know that this world is God's world. He has good plans for it. When I see war and famine and environmental destruction, I think I would despair if I didn't trust in a powerful, loving and holy God, a creating and recreating God who ultimately will renew both heaven and earth. Of course, I could list many more reasons, but I want to say more about Jesus as my shepherd, and I want to keep this short and sweet. Jesus has been my shepherd for all my adult life. You may be thinking that after so long I should be more Christ-like, and if so, I heartily agree with you. I'm painfully aware that I'm a work in progress, but there are good reasons why Jesus compares us to sheep. In John's Gospel, in chapter 10, verse 14, Jesus says this, "I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me." In our morning services at the moment, we're looking at the I am sayings of Jesus, and Alistair Pearse has recently focused on I am the good shepherd. So this is my experience of some of the truths which he expounded. I can call good Jesus my good shepherd because when I was younger and my faith wobbled, he always sent someone to grab me by the scruff of the neck and bring me back. He didn't let me go. Rick and I can call Jesus our good shepherd because he has kept us both physically safe through some hairy escapades in some remote places. I'm grateful that our lives so far have been both more adventurous and more secure than I ever imagined possible. Not that Jesus promises any of us safety or long life. The history of mission and the experience nowadays of the persecuted church makes that all too clear. I can call Jesus my good shepherd because he's heard and responded to my prayers in some wonderful ways. Sometimes giving, sometimes withholding. I want to mention just one early prayer that Jesus answered in ways I couldn't have imagined, so I had to wait a few years. During my first year or two in Dumfries, I remember being discouraged by a sermon on the parable of the talents. I already knew I was in the wrong career and I had none of the talents which the church valued on Sundays. I'm totally unmusical, I can't sing, and I'm a liability on the welcoming team because my facial recognition skills, or rather the lack of them, has caused me lifelong embarrassment. I remember saying to the Lord, "The only thing I'm good at is bird watching and photography, but can you use that?" It seemed unlikely to me, but the Lord knew that some British Christians were going to start a bird observatory in Portugal, and that in time, a Rocha, as it's known, would spread to other countries. By 1997, They would need a Christian who had a knowledge of birds and other wildlife, who could take and choose good photos for the newsletters, and by then I also had writing experience. It all came in useful when I became the Arusha administrator and editor, a job I held for 20 years. Jesus is such a good shepherd because he knows us as individuals. He can take anything we're willing to offer and use it. Fish and loaves, interests, common or uncommon skills. The important thing is to offer him what we have. Jesus says he knows his sheep. I think he knows me better than I know myself. And I suspect that he knows you better than you know yourself. I wonder if there's anything sadder than to go through life hearing about Jesus and avoiding him or refusing to trust him. So I want to finish by repeating one of the loveliest, most comforting and most inviting statements which Jesus ever said. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. Thank you for listening.